using in this reappraisal differently from the past some kind of big data, like that you're trying to focus your efforts based on what a variety of data sources say this is going to be a good use of kind of limited time?
Well, technology has always been evolving and changing in this field. The old statistical analysis, that's always been there. But now there's so many more resources with imaging, and the software packages are so much more robust now.
Yeah.
You can really get a lot of great information. And there still is an element of where you need the person to visit the property, of course. Geospatial is amazing as well. It can really tell a lot and set land values for neighborhoods and the boundaries of market areas. The other thing is I think we should point out is the timeline.
Yeah.
So we have sent out the data mailers to all the residential properties. That was several weeks ago. But I want folks to know that the Tyler Technology Company will be on the ground and running in several weeks with multiple data appraisers. So they will start scheduling. And you can call our office if you actually want us to do an inspection of your particular property. We will schedule that. Additionally, on January of 2021, we'll be opening up the form for informal hearings. I would encourage everybody to go to those hearings and have them review their property in front of an appraiser so that data is correct. That's a good idea. And then additionally after that, there is appeals, and we hope that everyone is satisfied and there are no appeals, but of course there'll be appeals. And the new valuations will be effective July 1st, 2021. That's the plan.
Okay, great. New effect, so July 1st, 2021. So we're a little less than 2 years out from when this kicks in. So that's important for people to remember. The current valuations stay in place through one more year, the year we're in currently, and then one additional year.
That's correct. I mean, we're going to do our regular annual process. So if someone is adding an addition or renovating with a brand new kitchen or adding a garage, we will make the typical adjustment that we do every year.
Right.
But the new valuations will be brought to market value in 2021.
Excellent. All right, 862-3966 is the number right there on your screen, and we'd love to take your calls on the reappraisal process. Also, I'm happy to answer questions about any other municipal issues that are on people's mind. What else does the public need to know about this, John, that you think is, what are some of the other misconceptions about this process that you hear when you're out talking to people?
Misconceptions. We've covered a lot. I mean,
Yep.
Number one is that we are not mandated to go into people's homes.
Yeah.
And yes, number two, we are mandated to adjust property values to 100%.
Okay.
So it doesn't escape someone from evaluation.
Yeah.
And we want to be fair. The object of this is for fair and equitable assessments so that people are paying a fair share of their tax burden.
Right.
Not an unfair.
And the last one, 2005 was the last one?
2005, what was that, 13 years ago? It was
Okay.
a long time. I guess I've been around for a little bit. That was not my first reappraisal. I worked on some reappraisals in smaller towns years before when I was getting into this line of work.
Right.
And I've really enjoyed Burlington. Especially I've been enjoying going to these neighborhood planning groups, which I will be doing that tonight. And then I have Ward 5 in a month. And so it's an opportunity for us to explain what we're doing, why we're doing it, and the importance of it.
Right.
And so I enjoy that process, and I enjoy when people stop over with their property record information and they say, hey, I think you need to fix this. That's what we're here to do. We want to correct data errors, of course.
Yep. Great. And Say again a little more about how we're using photography, like what satellite photography this time that didn't exist before.
No, it's not satellite.
It's not satellite,
we had
it's like drone or
well, not quite drones, even though that sounds cool. We had airplanes fly over, and what they did was they took images of overhead, and then we also had hired a company to drive a Google type of car up and down the streets.
Okay.
So you can observe with pretty high resolution folks' homes, and you can get an understanding of what is there, what's outside, the condition of the exterior and so forth, which is great. It's just wonderful. I used it a lot. I used it today to look at some properties in Red Rocks condo area, as well as we're going to be using more robustly the GIS,
So that's interesting.
geospatial.
So how so what do you do with those photos? Like how does that?
So the imaging, it just helps you certify, well, this house is a story and a half.
Okay.
Let's just say we had it as a two-story, a full two-story, one-story, two-story. No, we need to correct that because we know where the roof lines are. This house has asphalt shingles. We have that it has a metal standing seam roof. Let's make those corrections. And you just get a sense of also of where the properties are, and you can run up and down the street. The other thing that it has that's wonderful, it has measuring tools. So it can measure, I can measure a property at my desk by these measuring tools. It's called LiDAR. And you can hit a point to a point, and it'll tell you within inches of the dimensions of height and length and so forth of the particular property. And I think it's going to be a great tool for our fire safety folks, and I hope that they get involved and use this, and a lot of other departments as well, like Public Works and so forth, measuring where the poles are or the fire hydrants or whatnot. We'll see. I need to dive into it myself. I'm new to this that technology as well.
So here I got one for you, John. So this is like my pet peeve of the system. When I became a Burlington property owner, it was right before the reappraisal last time, and so we purchased our house on the same street as someone who purchased their house after the reappraisal had been done, and so our value was updated on that transaction, and so the reappraisal had that recent transaction for our property, and we had, it was pretty, there was a good comparable there. The house down the street was purchased at, it was literally like 6 months later than we bought ours at almost exactly the same value. And they had a dramatically lower reappraisal. It's probably still due to this day. 13 years later or whatnot. Dramatic, like hundreds of thousands of dollars lower, even though the market had just said that these were basically of the same value. Like, why does something like that happen? How do we try to minimize that happening when we're doing this process now?
That's a great point. That's a great point. So there are properties that end up being anomalies, and it really is a matter of having a good system of checking and reviewing and doing neighborhood reviews. That does happen. It's not the only one in the only neighborhood. I could have 10 other people call in tonight and say, hey, I've got one down in my street, and no, I don't want to tell you who they are, but they're extremely low. Can you do something about it? We want to, of course we want to. Because everyone else is paying the burden of that other particular property. But I have to make this point. When you run mass data and you have a lot of statistical samples and you have and you run competency interval tests and it shows good equity, good dispersion rates, acceptable dispersion rates, by and large, most people have a fair assessment.
Those are outliers.
And then there's these little outliers here and there. So
and we just have to live with that.
No, I don't think we have to live with it. I think what we can do is really work hard to make sure that those don't exist.
Yep.
And we're going to work hard to do that.
Okay.
I hope we capture all of those that are like that.
Yep.
Burlington is a little more difficult than South Burlington and Williston. Those are the two places I worked before I moved to Burlington. Their housing stock is so much younger, and therefore the difference in sale prices are not as wide. It's very, very close, and the houses are more homogeneous. In Burlington, you have much larger houses, you have these non-homogeneous neighborhoods, and you also have houses that have been not renovated at all to houses that have been fully renovated. So it is a more difficult place to
Right.
assess. Maybe that's
makes
why I
sense.
like it. I like the challenge. We're not going to get it right all the time, but we hope to do our best job. I mean, that's
Yeah.
all we can do.
Do you think, one of the initiatives that your office has sort of taken the lead on, in the time I've been in office is we've done these, when you've become aware of a asset class or section of the city that seems like it's had a kind of undue appreciation, not undue, but a disproportionate appreciation relative to the rest of the city, you've gone in and done a reappraisal for those areas, those assets. Do you think that the fact that you've been doing that work in the interim, is that, first of all, one of the reasons why we were able to go so long without a full citywide reappraisal, more than a decade, A, and then B, will that lead to less disruptive changes, you think, this time around that you've been doing? It would seem to me that you've sort of done some of that work,
Right.
and we're going to benefit from that now in the reappraisal, and there's not going to be as dramatic fluctuations in a way that will probably be, it's probably a good thing to have, I think, I'm asking anything.
I think that's a great point. I love that point because you need to do the work between reappraisals, and you need to run statistical analysis to figure out where there's inequity. We actually took care of several areas where there was some issues of inequities, and we made adjustments to those properties. The biggest one was the apartments in 2015.
Right.
They would be at a much lower equity ratio than the rest of the properties in the city right now. So now they're on par with the rest, and when we do the adjustment, it'll be more uniform.
Yeah.
That really was the right thing to do, and I hope that we continue with that practice in the future. And it's good for the taxpayers too, because it is based on value, your tax bill. So we made that adjustment in 2014, 2015 as well, and we corrected that problem, and that is a good thing. Now, did it push the reappraisal out another year or two? I don't know for sure, because what really drives the reappraisal is the market itself.
Okay.
And, well, statistical ratios, but
Right.
the market moves up and down. In Burlington, tends to continue to increase more than decrease.
Yep.
And they're not the largest category of properties. Single-family homes and condos are. So that's really pushing those ratios.
All right, great. We just have a few minutes left, and we haven't had any calls. 862-3966. The phone line's still open for anyone who has a burning question, Kevin. But I've got a off-script one for you here, Jen.
Okay, here we go.
I'm curious. This may be totally unfair to ask you, but as someone, there's a big debate going on in this country now about the idea of a wealth tax, and I don't know if you're following this debate, right? But it's happening at the national level in these campaigns. And I think one of the really interesting points that's been made is that we already kind of have a wealth tax in this country, in that we do tax. It is almost all communities, and I think there's maybe a few states that don't have everybody has a property tax, right? It is so with property taxes, we are taxing the wealth in that asset category in terms of real estate property. I'm just curious, as someone who has had their career here, what do you think about the notion that we would try to expand this to other types of assets, or like in the Elizabeth Warren plan, that all wealth would be taxed on an annual basis, at least for people that are, very wealthy.
Right. I am a bureaucrat and I try not to get political. So, but that's okay.
I'm actually I'm not asking you necessarily to have an opinion, but what do you think of that exercise? One of the reasons that people are against it is they think that it would be just too hard to implement, and that's.
I would imagine it would be hard to implement for the very wealthy because they would need to be audited every year. If that's really the debate about that small 1%, but I understand why. There's this push towards, we got to do something. This is, we have to do something. What I like about real estate is that it's more stable.
Yeah.
Real estate does move up and does move down, but at a very slower rate. So government needs stability. And also in Vermont itself, they have an income adjustment on every tax bill if you qualify. And those folks that do qualify, that is based on income, right?
Yeah.
So that is what we have. A lot of other states don't have that, I believe.
I think it's pretty
they might have a homestead where they get a deduction, but it tends to be uniform regardless of your income. This is the only state that I know of that it's based on your income if you're eligible.
Excellent. All right, well, we'll bring you back for more wealth tax questions at another show. Thank you for being on this one. This was great. I hope the viewers understand the process better now going forward. You'll be hearing more about it in the weeks and months ahead. If people have questions that didn't get answered in this, do we have some information up on the city website about this?
We do.
Okay.
We do. We have a lot of information, new information on our website specific to reappraisal and the process that we're taking. They can always call our office. I will talk to people personally. I enjoy doing that part of my job. And we will keep the website up to date.
Great.
And look for information in the mail too.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you all for tuning in tonight. It's been a pleasure being with you, John. Good luck with this major undertaking, and we'll see you next month on the Burlington Mayor's Show.